Hi, this is Jeremy Murphy. I'm in Lincoln, Nebraska, in the middle of the United States. I am a running coach, positivity coach, health coach, certified coach for the Dr. Sears Wellness Institute. And I'm happy to be here with you today on Blab. We're going to talk about shrinking some mountains into molehills. A lot of times we have things that accumulate in our life, worries, fear, anxiety, nervousness. And these accumulate and they create sleepless nights and things like that. And we have to deal with these in a serious, measurable way. And I'll talk about some ideas for that. But I know when I was growing up, one of my dad's favorite sayings was, don't make a mountain out of a molehill. And I started to realize I was sweating some of the small stuff. And of course, with the rocky things we encounter in life, a lot of the things we encounter would fall in that category of small stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. We want to keep the small stuff small. And if it's a more difficult thing, a more challenging thing, we need to deal with it in chunks, deal with it in daily segments, weekly segments, monthly segments, quarterly segments. So what do I mean by that? When I work with people that I'm coaching or helping, first thing we talk about is what are your goals? What have you tried? What are your goals? And really that gives me a great idea as far as where people are with their past experience, their current workout regimen and eating strategies and things like that. I know a lot of people are trying to lose weight, and that's a good goal to have. But we need to be more specific than that. So I try to get people to focus on how much weight do you want to lose? Do you want to lose 5 pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds, more than that? And really try to break that into what amount to be specific. So I've listed a website over here that deals with what we call SMART goals. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with this. I know some of you are who are coaches or maybe people that are leaders that deal with acronyms. SMART goals are very popular, and it's an acronym. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. So we'll break that down. Really what a SMART goal would be, we talked about with weight loss, you want to be specific. So if somebody says, I'm trying to lose 10 to 20 pounds, we really need to focus on is that your range, or do you want to say that it's 15 pounds? Try to focus in, and if we're a little bit more targeted with what your goal is, we can map out your future and how you can get there a little more easily. So I know, a lot of people, they have breakthroughs with their fitness and nutrition, and they get to the point where, they might have, we call it the last 10 to 20 pounds to lose and not sure how to get there. And, sometimes old habits return. For example, drinking carbonated drinks and things like that. We really shouldn't be drinking those if we're trying to lose weight. Pop, as we call it here in this part of the United States, is not good for you. Read the ingredients, read the labels. I've had enough education and experience on this, and positive experience in getting up pop and just seeing the weight disappear. We can make changes like that. And if we can stick to them, it really creates a situation where you can have a positive transformational experience. You become a positive role model for your family and friends. And people say, well, why aren't you drinking pop anymore? And they say, wow, you look so good. What are you doing? And you say things like, well, I don't drink pop anymore. I eat real food. I'm not eating processed food. I'm eating lots more fruits and vegetables. Trying to sleep more, making sleep a priority. We have to balance all those things like that if a client is trying to lose weight. So number one, be specific. For example, I'll give you an example. For me, one of my running goals is to indefinitely run 1 mile or more every day. So it's called a run streak, and every day. I run a mile or more. Some days, if I'm tired, I just run a mile, and it's okay, because that's the minimum required to keep a running streak intact by the Streak Runners International and the United States Run Streak Association that I'm a member of. So I'm specific. So I'll say a mile or more. So it can be 1.00, it can be 1.01, it can be 1.08. Usually some of the shorter mile runs are just with my dog. She's a puppy still. So, I don't push her too much with distance, but, that's, try and make your goals specific. Another one of my running goals is to someday run on the Great Wall of China, to run one of the Great Wall of China marathons. And there are, I think, 3 or 4 of them. So you kind of have to pick one, but that's very specific. That's not just saying, oh, I want to run a marathon. It's saying, no, I can see the Great Wall in my head, and I want to conquer the Great Wall in running. So I set that goal, and that's specific. That's not just saying I want to run a marathon in China. That's saying I want to run one of the Great Wall of China marathons. But like people pointed out, there are 3 or 4 of those. So I have to make a decision, which one works with my schedule and my life. But that is specific. That's specific. And we do have to be that specific when we set our goals. Hey, Greg, welcome. Thanks for joining me. Good to have you here. Haven't seen you in a while. We're just talking about shrinking mountains into molehills and how to do that using SMART goals. So, you probably have heard of these: the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. So I was talking about trying to make specific goals. For a lot of people, we try to cut corners with things like sleep. And, once you start measuring that with an activity tracker or something like that, it really opens your eyes that, number one, sometimes you're not sleeping enough. Number two, you notice that your deep sleep is a lot less than you think. And number three, that you're awake a lot more in the middle of the night than maybe you should be. So sometimes we have to focus on unplugging technology early and that type of thing to try to get more sleep. But that's another example of a goal that someone could set to, try to improve their health. Another goal is to drink more water. You can be general, but if we're talking about being specific, I can say, okay, well, here's the 32-ounce bottle, and I want to drain this 3 or 4 times a day, and I'm going to keep track and try to remember which, number of the bottle that I've consumed. And try to keep up with that. So, a lot of us are not drinking enough water, and the body needs a lot more water than we're providing to it in order to have proper nutrition and keep our health stable. So, that's another goal. But if you set the goal of drinking more water, you want to be more specific than that, and you want to try to measure it. And that gets into the second component of SMART goals, is measurable. I can see the 32-ounce line, I can see the 16-ounce line, and kind of keep track of if I fall behind in drinking water, I can just take a break and catch up and refill the bottle again and keep consuming more water to stay on track with that measurable goal. So with things like, we talked about weight loss and nutrition. You can track your weight with all kinds of apps. You can track it on paper. You can track it with MyFitnessPal is one of the favorites of mine because it allows you to log in and check your weight every once in a while. And then you can make charts that will measure month by month, year by year, day by day, if you want to keep track to that extent. I found that if you're trying to lose weight, you probably want to only check it 1 day a week because otherwise you get overly concerned about, where your weight is and that type of thing. And you probably want it to be on the same day. And I had a coach that I was working with a while back, and she was having a group of us weigh in on Mondays. And that was a tough thing for some of us because Monday can be a stressful day because you're returning to work, your blood pressure is rising because you're, transitioning from, home life to back to the workplace. And so some of us would weigh in on, not the weight we wanted on Mondays. Hi, Bill. Thanks for joining me. Good to have you here with us. We're just talking about how to shrink the mountains of life into molehills, how to take our fears and worries and concerns and to shrink them, and how to take our goals that might be mountainous and how to shrink those into specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based, time-bound components. So those are some ideas on, how to make it measurable on, for me as a runner and as a running coach. I mean, I keep track of what my personal records are. I keep track of my, my marathon PR, half marathon, 10K, 5K, and Garmin even breaks it down to, 1K. I have a 50K ultra marathon under my belt, so that's still my PR there. I've really only run one in a race, but it keeps track of that for me. And if I have a great workout or a great race, frequently Garmin will tell me, "Hey, you broke your record, or it looks like you did. Can you double check this?" And sometimes you do have to double check, because you'll find, wait a minute, this was on snow and ice, and you're telling me that I broke my record, and you look at it and you say, no, the Garmin technology made a mistake. But a lot of times it's right. If you have a wonderful race, and maybe you medal, have a lot of success, maybe you get a gold medal in your age group or something like that, you do find that you're breaking your records. And so the fun thing as a runner is you're racing yourself from the past, and you're proving to yourself that you can continue to be able to do that. Hey, I'd be happy to maybe let you in, but I guess I'd like to maybe talk to you, have you say something on the side first. I would welcome you to blab on your first day, but I have an agenda of what we're trying to get through, and but I'd like to get to know you on the side in the comments, if that's okay first. So we talked about the measurable, measuring your goals. Like I said, with MyFitnessPal, you can measure weight loss. With Garmin, you can measure, running success. You can also do it with Strava. Strava is a great running app that links through Garmin Connect, and Runkeeper is another one. It's good to have backup systems, because sometimes I'll be running and my Garmin watch will die with it being too cold. And so, I have to go back and I say, well, I should check the distance in Strava or Runkeeper and see if they have a more accurate amount. And sometimes I find, oh, well, Runkeeper somehow used the Garmin file and save the correct quantity of this run. And, one of my goals is to run 2016 miles this year. And so I've got to keep track of the numbers. And if the numbers are off, then I'm having to run more to get to my goal. So I want to make sure that gets captured somehow. And so sometimes it's good to have a backup system in case you rely on a technology solution that ends up failing for some reason. A lot of us rely on technology like Evernote, for example, but I think that is one that regularly backs up. So if you're saving your goals in something like that, you're probably going to be okay. I don't think you're going to have a problem with recreating something like that. But with running and with inclement weather, I mean, sometimes we do have to have a backup system, because we just, otherwise we lose the data. I was running 7 miles. I pressed my watch stop on 7 miles, and then Garmin tells me it's 6.85 miles. And I said, no, wait a minute. It said 7 when I stopped it. Why is it saying less than that now? But Runkeeper and Strava both confirmed that I did go slightly over 7. So anyway, it's a joy of relying upon numbers and having to be specific. And sometimes we can only be specific to a certain extent, because we will have technology might randomly fail us, and we have to estimate as best we can, what the distance of that run was or something. So number 3, we're talking about attainable goals. You want to think about what you can actually reach. And this is a tough one for me because some of my goals are extremely high, and they may be too high. I never reach the goal of running the Great Wall of China Marathon. But as someone with asthma, and that's put a chip on my shoulder my entire life, I just feel like I'm constantly trying to punch this chronic disease out. And so I almost feel like doing that would help give me some momentum to maybe, run some bigger races, maybe some longer races. But I know it's going to take a lot of hill training to do that. And you can't exactly run the Great Wall of China Marathon without doing just a tremendous amount of hill training. You by the same token, you can't lose weight by not sleeping, eating the wrong food, not hydrating, drinking lots of pop, lots of carbonated beverages. I mean, you can stack up bad habits that work against you, and we can do that with running too. Runners, sometimes we get lazy, or we want a day off, or we get into patterns where maybe for a week or two we don't feel like running. Where as I call it, the running groove just isn't there. And that's partly how I titled my blog. The runninggrooveshark.com blog was titled based on hunting for that magical metaphysical run. That saying that it wasn't just a hypothetical thing, that we could actually reach it somehow, but it takes a lot of work. I mean, it takes lassoing in one run after another and knowing that some of them are going to be bad. Some of them are going to be in icy conditions. Some of them, I may fall. My dog may pull me down in the ice, like happened in November. And I've recovered from that, but I've learned to kind of watch for the dog's paws slipping on the ice. You have to look for things that might interfere with your goals. And if you have an injury and you have a big goal like running the Great Wall of China Marathon, you're going to have to put that goal on hold while you recover from that injury. And that's something that a lot of runners, we deal with injuries, and sometimes we're not dealing with preventing those injuries enough, with making sure we're not running, if we haven't built up to running 60 to 80 miles a week, you don't just jump to that quantity. I mean, you have to build your mileage, maybe 10% per week increase max, or you really risk injury. And sometimes we tend to overtrain. Somebody will try to do 100-mile week of running and not be ready for that. And you have to get your body ready incrementally by building up to it. It's the way I would describe it. I would use the Great Wall of China as an example. We can get caught up in how difficult it would be to walk or run the entire wall. Or we can look at it as a series of amazing staircases, and it's basically banister after banister. It's section after section, and those sections get analyzed, and that's why race officials kind of break that down for people and say, okay, this section is going to be really tough, and this section has this much height ascending and that type of thing, and you just have to be really prepared for that. But you have to look at it in sections. You can't look at it as, oh, I'm intimidated by this great wall, and how could I possibly run this? And you just have to look at it as you conquer this section, you conquer this section, you conquer this section, and it builds on itself incrementally until you get, then you have positive spin, and you have a little bit of a fiery momentum, and you can use that to your advantage in moving forward to achieve your goals. So, the Great Wall may not be an attainable goal for me, but I know, to pick a goal that might be more attainable, that I know I can probably do. I'm running a trail 5K next week. And it's kind of funny. I've never run a trail 5K race before. I've run a trail 50K race. I don't know why I ran the 50K race first, and now I'm going back to the 5K distance. But the 5K race surfaced, and I was fascinated with it. And you have to prepare yourself for a trail race. You have to run different terrain. You have to run, dealing with hazards, dealing with rocks, branches, snow, ice, other debris and garbage. And that's the type of thing that, you just have to deal with as as a trail runner. And it's a different mentality. It's a tougher mentality, and it requires more. Yeah, it requires more awareness and mindfulness of the scenery that's around you, the hazards and obstacles that are there, and really trying to find ways to deal with that. So I'm sorry, we've got a troll over here. So that's what I would say with having more measurable goals, and making sure they're attainable. I know that I can easily run the 5K distance. The one thing that I'm worried about this race is the possibility of cold, snow, and ice. And I have to wear what we call yak tracks, which are spikes, special spikes that you can strap on your shoes with Velcro, and they have coil on the bottom. So it's a pretty good protection from snow and ice. You still have to be careful, though. You can still slip in yak tracks and get hurt. And sometimes it's the smallest crack in the sidewalk that we trip over. And I think life is sort of like that too. We start pursuing goals, and we think that we've got momentum and we're doing well, and we think we're looking out for all the hazards, and then it's something we don't see it, and we don't see it until we're already tripping over it. And this happens with me running with our dog. I have to memorize all these sidewalk cracks or different pitches in the sidewalk. And so if I hit one of those wrong with my foot, or hit an icy portion, or the dog pulls and she's on ice and I'm not, we could both be falling down. So I've just tried to memorize where those portions are, because if you don't, you go airborne, and hopefully you land on your feet. Sometimes you don't. But they've started to mark those with pink spray paint in our neighborhood, which is good. I think they're going to get around to fixing those at some point, but maybe, perhaps not immediately. But we have to pick a goal that's within reach. If somebody's trying to lose 20 pounds, you don't want to try to do it all in 1 month or all in 1 week. Maybe you shoot for a pound a week or something like that, or a couple pounds a month. And you break it into smaller slivers, and each time you achieve one of those tiny, measurable, attainable goals, it gives you positive momentum, and you can use that to propel yourself to hit the next goal. So you're sort of bouncing from one another, and you're using the smaller goals to propel you to the larger one. So, that would be an example of maybe something that'd be attainable there. I mean, some of us those of us who are parents, sometimes we struggle to sleep 5 hours or more because you're up late with the kids, or the dog needs to go for a walk. You're staying up late with the kids with homework, with science projects, to pick a random example. It's been taxing for us recently. But, you can set a goal to sleep 5 hours or more a night. I need closer to maybe 6 to 8 is more ideal. A lot of times, if you're working hard and you're juggling your parental responsibilities, and you have other things come up or emergencies, I mean, sometimes you have to simply bend that a little bit, maybe for that one night, and then try to get back on track the next day. And I think we have to recognize that all of us can have bad days, but we can, each time we fall, we need to just stand up and start over. And we have to press that reset button and try to take our life to realize that we have the power, capacity, and ability to do that. But we have to believe in ourselves. We have to trust in ourselves. And I just try to pick small targets, sometimes small micro goals, if you will, to help work me up to the bigger ones. And sometimes I reach the bigger ones and I just shake my head and wonder how. And I think a lot of it is just having a fantastic network of family and friends, and people that care about me and recognize my abilities, my strengths. And I try to, if I see strengths in them, I try to encourage all of you to do that too, to pursue what your fiery passion is inside, on how you want to change or transform the world. And I think we all have uh, a different ability to do that. So, yeah, Greg has a comment, belief, not belie F. I've never seen that broken up like that before. That's very interesting. I wonder why. I guess I just haven't encountered anyone that broke it down that way. And that's not even the the phonetic natural break of the syllable. So it's a non-syllabic trick, but I think it's I wouldn't even call it a trick. I think it's it's really carving out the negative part of that word and realizing there is a negative part of that word if you look at it that way. And trying to cement the word back together and stick with the positive side. So yeah, I wasn't trying to mischaracterize that. I was just trying to think on my feet a little bit. And sometimes when we attorneys are extemporaneous, we need to be less spontaneous. So yeah, the support that I've seen here on Blab, on Twitter, on not so much Facebook. Facebook's gotten kind of negative. What the heck is up with that? We need to work on that. Google Plus been okay. I've met a lot of positive people. I still get weird people stalking me there for some reason. But I think some of it is the polarity of the positivity attracts extreme negativity. And this happened to me on Periscope today. All of a sudden I had, I have a goal of broadcasting on Periscope every day and trying to help them with coaching, running tips, how to stay on track with your workouts and things like that. And suddenly I was getting bombarded with, negative comments, people using words they shouldn't be typing, hateful remarks. I had to block somebody during the broadcast. I had a fellow Nebraskan defending me. I mean, this is the type of issues that you're going to deal with if you have big positive goals that might involve transforming the world in a powerful way. You're going to encounter this. You're going to encounter haters, and sometimes they're going to stack up in one 5 to 10 minute segment like that. And we just have to, we all have to toughen up and realize that, and just be prepared to do what we have to do to block people if that's necessary. Hopefully it's not. I don't like to have to do that, but if people are going to try to blabjack or to hijack my Periscope, I'm not going to allow you to do that. I'm sorry. If you're going to put negative things that have nothing to do with the topic in the comments, they're going to be stricken. I know how to revise the record as an attorney. I know how to make sure that we get a clean transcript, so that I'm trying very hard to do that here on Blab. It's tougher to do that on Periscope when you're on your phone and you have these comments scrolling like this, and you have negative stuff from you don't know who, because the comments are going so fast. Because if you get to the point that you have a viral presence on social media, you will attract negativity. And so we have to prepare to deal with that. And hopefully I want to have a specific Blab dealing with that. I'd like to gather some people that have dealt with this, people that are learning to deal with it, maybe help people to deal with it. But, I just thought I'd share that, because it's something you're going to run into. If you get to the point that you have a larger audience, you're going to get bombarded with positive and negative things. And the beauty is that you look for the positive within the negative. You have every rose has its thorns. And we get so caught up in, what those thorns feel like if they, prick us somewhere. But we don't get caught up in the beauty of the rose, do we? And I've really tried to redirect all of my efforts towards positivity, realizing that negativity isn't going to take me anywhere, and that the only time where I'm going to grant an exception to that is if someone needs help with their mindset and they're trying to shift it to positivity. I do need to visit their negative world to see where they are, at least to a limited extent, to figure out how to spin someone back to the polarity of positivity. So, Greg, It's a great insight. What are my beliefs versus the false beliefs? I think we all have false beliefs, fears, anxieties, worries that if you weigh their accuracy, they're nonsensical. They don't make sense at all. And if we're logical enough to recognize that and realize it, I think it's very powerful to unload all that baggage. I have a friend, Tim Fargo, who's on Twitter. If you're not following him, he does, trying to remember the name of the tool, Tweet Jukebox. And there's a free version and a paid version. But anyway, he's a very positive person. And he has a saying that none of us should carry more than one carry-on baggage. One bag of carry-on baggage per person. We carry all this emotional garbage from our past or our fears or, people tell us lies and we believe them. Somebody was telling me on Periscope today, oh, you have a big nose. Oh, gee, tell me something I don't already know, and I probably should have made a joke out of it and said, well, at least I can smell the roses. I can smell the flowers. Unfortunately, I was wearing a big hat over my ears, so he couldn't see how big my ears were. Or he might have talked about that too. So, recognize that, we all have these things that, if people get us to focus on little things like that, just think of how much time, effort, and energy we waste on negativity. If we calculate all the effort that we waste on negativity, sometimes I don't know about you guys, but sometimes we're spending maybe half our day and we just have these negative things come up and we have to keep redirecting them to positivity. We have to recognize when they come up, we just have to sweep them. We have to sweep them out of the way and sweep them out in groups if we have to. Sometimes we just have to take a moment, unpack what's bothering us, why it's bothering us, whether it's rational to allow it to bother us. And if it's not, let it go, shake it off. I could get caught up on all the negative comments that are made against me on Periscope today, but I'm not going to do that. Life is too short. I don't have time. Nobody got time for that. Ain't got time for that. I've got too much to do. I can't. I do need to go through and block some of those people though, because they're just. There were racist remarks and all this. It's just, why would people do that? Are people that bored or that determined that they're going to waste their time trying to take someone down on Periscope just because they have nothing better to do? I think we need to recognize that these people are out there and try to deal with them as best we can when they surface. Okay, so we talked a little bit about, Greg mentioned the beliefs and false beliefs. They do become bigger than life. And we have to recognize that these are myths. They're absolutely fiction. We got to think about our thoughts, think about what's fiction, and think about what's nonfiction. And we need a bright line between the two. And if we have these fictional false beliefs that accumulate and, it just reaches a point where, you just have negativity and blinking lights of negativity jumping all over you all the time. And if you're not doing anything with that, it's going to take you down. It's going to take you down. It's going to be a negative anchor. You're going to be underwater. You'll be sinking fast. And, hopefully you have a lifeline or some kind of life preserver to pull you out of that. So, really recognize that we do have true beliefs that make sense, that are rational, that we do need to hold on to, that are positive. I guess I was doing the nonfiction over here and the fiction was over here. So I'll try to be consistent try to keep the fictional false beliefs. It's great to have a great sense of imagination if it's positive. If it's negative, it's deadly. It is absolutely fatal to what we're trying to accomplish. Why should we get caught up in fatalism and hatred and the personal destruction, all the things that I see that are bothering me? I'm just going to realize they're haters. I'm going to try to ignore them as best I can, block them when I need to, curate the transcript here when I have to, and people are trying to take the blab down or take it over or just cause trouble. But if you want to cause trouble, do it on your own time. Do it in your own blab, and you're not going to have a big audience because, people that recognize what you're doing, they're not going to want to have anything to do with you. But keep the positive, true beliefs, keep them in the vault. We have to recognize we have all these. The way I look at it, life is a kaleidoscope, and we have all these positive images. And if we make mosaics, beautiful masterpieces out of the positive moments, the wonderful things that have happened in our lives, we need to permanently imprint those in our brain. We need to lock them in a vault. And when we're having tough times, we need to unlock that vault, look at those, soak them up, lock them back up. You don't want to let go of them entirely. We do want to remember them to a limited extent to be able to take us out of those. But we've got to keep some positive thoughts and images. It's very powerful to do envisioning your future, envisioning your goals, picturing what it would be like to live your ideal life, to live in an ideal place, to achieve the goal of running the Great Wall of China Marathon, to be on the at the finish line, to lose the weight that you want to lose, to really stick with what your goals are for your business. For gaining more followers on Twitter, on Blab, on any social media platform, but to have a lens that allows you to see who's a positive influence in your life and who is toxic. And I think we need to recognize there are toxic people out there, and if they threaten our goals and are trying to do negative things to us, we can only do so much to help them. And if they're going to continue to interfere and cause us to have fear, anxiety, worry, get caught up with false beliefs, we just need to let them go and let them pursue their path and recognize that our path doesn't run with theirs anymore. So some people are in our lives for obviously for a reason, some for a season. Sometimes some of our connections are maybe in our life, our whole life long. And for others, it just, it might be one season of a year that we're just meant to be able to be with each other and help each other. And if someone doesn't click with us, we just need to accept that. It's okay. We can let go and pursue people that are positive, that are going to support us, strengthen us. And that's really what I'm all about. I'm trying to help people, strengthen them, flip their mindset to positivity if it's not there already, and to try to link arms with positivists around the world and try to create momentum with the positivity patrol that I've created. We do want to make sure that our goals are relevant. If you're if you're trying to lose weight, you don't want to be eating a full pan of brownies every night. That's probably not, not consistent with that goal. It's not relevant to be doing the opposite of what it takes to achieve your goal. If I'm trying to run the Great Wall of China Marathon, but I'm just training by walking, well, that's probably not going to be strong enough training to get me through all those hills. And some of the ascent within that race, regardless of which one it is, they all deal with huge changes in elevation. And so a lot of runners have found they've had to walk those steps on the Great Wall in some spots just because they get too steep. And if you're going through one after another, one section after another, sometimes you do need to maybe walk up some of those to sort of catch your breath. But we need to make sure that the goals that we have are relevant, so that they can that they're within the path that we set for ourselves. If you're pursuing a big goal, you want to make sure that your micro goals are within the same path and they're not taking you off track. A lot of us who are multitaskers, and I'm one of those. Sometimes we get off track a little bit, trying to either do too much at once or pursuing relevant, goals that might not be relevant or within the path. And, we need to refocus. It's a matter of focus, I think, gets us back to really dealing with what's relevant to helping us achieve our goals. So that's what I would say about relevant. There's a time-bound portion of this too, and this can be done different ways. I like to set annual goals. I like to try to adjust them quarterly. And sometimes they change in the middle of the year, right? Achieve one, so I'll just, cross it out and either insert another one or try to make another master list. So, I've found my annual goals that I set for myself, I think in 2014, and realizing that I have achieved a couple of those, so I need to reset them. And sometimes it's a matter of resetting incremental goals that are further down the path that you're on. Sometimes it might be, pursuing your path a little further, or, maybe developing your business. A lot of people who are entrepreneurial or startup businesses, it takes a while to get to the word out on who you are and what you do. I became a certified running coach last year. It takes a while for people to realize what that is, what that means. To give you another example, I became a certified health coach in December, and my health coach website is still being built. So, and until that website is built, it's hard for me to get the word out on who I am and what I do. I'm trying to do that as best I can, but the website will have better descriptions of that are consistent and showing people visually sort of what can be done. So in the meantime, I'm trying to do that through word of mouth, social media, trying to get friends to help me out, and maybe telling friends that I might be able to help regardless of where they are in the world, because the health coach website will allow me to deliver online classes anywhere in the world with anyone that has an internet connection. So it's just a matter of making sure you have the technology, really. So that's, let's see, it covers the time bound. You can even break it down into, monthly goals. I do have monthly goals that I set for running, that are consistent with, like running 2016 miles. I have to look at how much per month do I need to run to do that, and make sure periodically going through the year that if I fall behind on mileage one month, that I'm trying to catch up with the next month. So I sort of stay ahead of the game, because it's really hard if you get to December, like I did last year, trying to run 2015 miles, and I had to really pour it on in December to achieve that. I was successful, but I was doubling up a little more than I had to, and well, not more than I had to, but I was recovering from a rib injury, having fallen on the ice with my dog. I didn't crack my ribs, but they smacked them pretty hard. So I was having to keep them taped and had to back way off on mileage and, make sure that I was fully recovered before really pushing forward with distance goals like that. So, so that's, I look at how much I'm trying to run per month, how much I would run per day to stay on track for the monthly goal, and then how that would add up for, an annual goal. So, and I'm not saying your goals have to be running. I mean, it could be weight loss or nutrition based, or, sticking on track with the daily consumption of water I talked about earlier. How many 32-ounce bottles of water will I consume per day? Some people will keep track of that and maybe keep track of how many times they achieve that or don't during the week, or per day. And I mean, you can even record that in MyFitnessPal. You can keep track of your water there if you want to. I've kind of given up on keeping track of it there. I'm more concerned about recording what I'm eating and making sure I'm staying on track there. So, but MyFitnessPal helped me a lot. You get a lot of friends from around the world with consistent interests, and trying to stay on track with, their running goals, their weight loss goals. You sort of high five each other virtually by commenting on each other's profiles and that type of thing. But it's a wonderful platform that I highly recommend to anybody trying to that might have weight loss goals. I mean, that's where I'm probably going to have the majority of my clients, requiring them, if they're willing to create a profile, and that allows me to stay in touch with them and make sure that, if we have an issue, to kind of see what it is, or if somebody gains weight and they can't figure out why, I'm going to probably ask them for, a little bit of their food diary to figure out, does it really look like they're eating consistently with what their goals are? And sometimes you have to look at some way to record performance to assess that against your goal. But that would be one example of, Greg, you've asked, how do you set congruent goals? I think, sometimes you try to figure out, you almost have to figure out what your big goal is and maybe what the top three are. And then you try to figure out what increments will it take to get you there. And I try to look at my day like that too. I try to think of what three things do I absolutely have to do today? And sometimes if it's a busy day, it might be down to what one thing can I do today? So, just recognizing that if you do happen to finish that one thing, that you can move on to the second thing, the third thing. Some of it is, I would go back to Greg McEwen's book, Essentialism. If you haven't read it, has really helped me deal with, multitasking and maybe trying to take on too much at once. I have, a vast array of interests. I'm an attorney. I'm a musician. I majored in history and philosophy. I love running. I'm a running coach. I'm a health coach. I'm a positivity coach. And keeping all those interests alive and satisfied. I have a strong interest in astronomy, but I don't get to do much with that anymore, unfortunately. But I try to keep up in all of those areas and figure out how to kind of weave those together. Try to figure out which, where my strengths are and how I can help people the most. And that's really what's taken me to the path of coaching. To recognize that all these people are asking me for running advice, for advice on weight loss, on how I lost 45 pounds, on staying on track with running and things like that. People recognize if you lose that much weight, you get asked, how did you do this? And how do you keep it off? And, a lot of it comes down to finding ways to relieve stress. And we need to recognize when stress conflicts with our goals, that we need to find ways to relieve it. Life is sort of like a pressure cooker, and we have to find an escape valve to allow some of that steam to run off, or sometimes things just explode out of control and we don't have control of the situation anymore. And so I think a lot of it is, recognizing, that stress may interfere, other obstacles may interfere, sometimes we need to recognize that sometimes our goals may conflict. And if they do, we have to decide which ones are most important. And that involves some soul searching and sacrifice. And, sometimes it involves checking with your spouse, your family, your loved ones, your friends, trying to discern what's most important. So I think, you sort of have to weigh which goals interlock and mesh well together. And that's how I do it. I try to figure out which ones mesh well together, which ones keep me on track for achieving my goals, which ones help me connect with more people on a global basis, on positivity, running, health, wellness, transforming the world in a positive way, trying to get the mainstream media to avoid so much negativity. I mean, there are just all kinds of things like that, if something falls into that path and is sort of within, on the path and not off the path, that there is, we do follow these paths in our lives, and some, talk about the road less traveled, and I think that's very valuable to pursue. Sometimes the road that we're on may not be the one that others have in mind for us. But we have to recognize what that road is and try to stay on it and try not to get off the beaten path so much so we're, off the path in 6 different places and can't figure out how to get back on. I mean, that's problematic. And we do have moments where that clarity is lacking. And I think, for me, I think a lot of that clarity, it comes from running outside. It comes from just absorbing and soaking in the beauty of nature, from prayer, from talking to family and friends, asking them, what do you think my 5 biggest strengths are? What careers do you think I'm not suited for? And sometimes our closest friends, confidants, and family will be able to tell us things that maybe we don't recognize or realize, or say, hey, for example, I've had people tell me, you're a great listener. Some people think I'm very quiet, and I'm really not. Usually when they think that, it's because I'm listening intently and I'm trying to soak it up and recognizing that, as attorneys, sometimes we tend to interrupt people too much. And so I try to be more deferential and really understanding where someone is before trying to offer something in response, and recognizing that if we can't improve the silence, sometimes we need to say nothing, and be okay with that. And that silence speaks to us. That I think creating a routine where we have at least an hour a day where we're quiet, finding solitude, whether we're reading, maybe just listening to music, have our eyes closed. You could be napping during all or part of it, if your schedule permits that. But I think that provides a very powerful, refreshing impact on our lives and helps give us the kind of clarity that we need to figure out, what is my mission? Why am I here? What can I do? Whose lives can I change, and how? And if we can work hard on that, I think, that's very valuable. I know, people are talking about providing clarity sessions to each other and that type of thing. And, some people are in a position to do that. Others, they're maybe promising that without the ability to really be able to provide it. So, thanks, Greg. Thanks for coming, and thanks for your engagement and participation. Appreciate it. So I think I've covered the, I covered the specific, measurable, obtainable, relevant, time bound. So I've covered the SMART goals. There is a link up at the top that deals with the, the link from, I think it's zenplanner.com/blog, establishing SMART goals to set your clients up for success. I'm sorry it's so long. I should have created a bit.ly link or a Google link or something like that. So, but that's, that's available if people are interested. If you Google SMART goals, you'll find, the specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based solutions out there. And I think they're very powerful and meaningful. I think we need to recognize that sometimes our goals are mountainous, and that's okay. And so if that happens, you just need to shrink those mountainous increments down into measurable quantities. And if we do that in an incremental daily approach, monthly approach, quarterly approach, annual approach, we can reach the summit of the mountain. And thanks, Phil. I love that. I love that proverb. That's I love Chinese proverbs. Our daughter is Chinese American immigrant. So Chinese proverbs like that are very powerful to me, and they help me realize that I don't have to do it all at once. That I can take one step, then another, then another, then another. I mean, it's people talk about, well, how do you learn to become a better runner? And a lot of it's just left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. It's step after step. And to be aware of those footsteps are and where they're going to land and how they're going to land and, you know, the length of your strides, and there are all kinds of other things. But I mean, if you break it down, it's down to each step is how we achieve our goals. But we also need to recognize when fears, worries, anxieties, false beliefs accumulate into this mountainous pile, that we need to just find ways to sweep those out of our lives and allow them to be gone, and maybe shrinking them from a mountain to a molehill. So those are, you know, a couple ideas on how to shrink your mountainous goals into molehill incremental quantities, and how to shrink your fear, anxiety, and worries that may accumulate into a mountainous pile into more of a molehill that you don't even notice. We need to all try to keep our carry-on baggage down to one carry-on bag max. That's all we can handle. Trust me. I want to thank Tim Fargo for, he states that on Twitter repeatedly. And it really connected with me because it helped me recognize just how much unnecessary baggage we carry around with us. And that if we let go of it, we're liberated, we're free. We have the capacity to be free. We need to act like we're free. And if we do become free, we can accomplish some big, wonderful things, especially if we work together with each other, support each other, and recognize that we all have great gifts and strengths, and we have to have the boldness and the courage to share those with the world in a meaningful way, and to also try to lift others up in whatever way we can. Recognizing, you know, I try to look at who can I help on a daily basis that's sending me a cry for help, either if it's spoken as that or implied. I try to, you know, put out, I try to respond with, you know, offers of help and try to help people that I can, and recognize I can't help everyone. And maybe every day, if we help one person, you know, by the end of the year, we've helped 365 or 366 people, depending on whether it's a leap year or not. Maybe we should do 2 on at least one day per year, so we're at 366 every year. You know, that's helping more people. So yeah, Bill, thanks for that. Thanks for the reminder of that proverb. I love that. I want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank Bill and Greg in particular for coming and listening and engaging, participating. You know, and I do want to thank the replay viewers. I know it's exciting to see some of your broadcasts that you don't expect to be viral or have more replays, you know, to really see which ones those are. And, you know, I did one on the Irish potato famine recently, and there were a lot of people watching that after the fact. I guess these transatlantic discussions have kind of a unique character. But I do want to thank those of you watching the replay also, and hope you all have a fantastic Friday. Be strong, be bold, be courageous, be free. And if I can help any of you in any way, please feel free to contact me. You can reach me on Twitter. My handle is Jeremy P. Murphy. You can reach me on here on Blab. I have a positivitypatrol.com website. I have a health coach website that's being developed, and I can't release the web link on that until I find out if I got the web link I requested. They might have to change it to something else if someone has already claimed it with, you know, a Murphy name. So we'll see on that one. And my running blog is runninggrooveshark.com, and I'm trying to keep people up to date with running tips. And again, the health coach classes I'll be teaching, some of them will be in person, a lot of them will be online. It just kind of depends, you know, where people are in the world, what their needs are. And they'll be based on primetime health. So trying to help people with things like pain and inflammation, you know, issues of that nature. So I'll be more specific on that, though, when I have the confirmation the health coach website is up, and it should be up probably within a week. So I'm excited about that. But recognize that we all have the ability to climb every mountain, as was sung in The Sound of Music. And just don't climb every mountain at once. climb them one at a time, recognize which ones you're called to climb, and recognize which ones you're not. And I think some of accomplishing what we're trying to do in the world is to be able to say no to things that don't serve us in our mission here on earth. So have a great Friday. Be strong, be bold, be courageous, be free. This is Jeremy Murphy signing off. Thanks. Bye.